Hello, everyone. I'm Lak Lakshmanan. I lead analytics and AI solutions at Google Cloud, and it is my pleasure to be able to announce that we have Actian Avalanche now available on our cloud platform. What exactly is Google Cloud, and why do folks choose us? Well, one way to think about it is that Google Cloud brings Google expertise to running your workloads. As you know, at Google, we have 9 products with more than 1 billion users each. Whether you think of Google Search or Android or Gmail or YouTube or Google Maps, all of these are products that you rely on every day. Think about it. When was it now? You really rely on Google Cloud and you expect it to be resilient. And that's because right? It's built on the same technology that powers Google Search and Google Maps. That expertise that we have in building very resilient systems is what we have carried over to providing cloud computing services to the world. Another aspect of Google Cloud is equally important, though. It's not only that it is very resilient, that it's very scalable, it scales to billions of users, but also that it is very sustainable. Okay? We are very proud that we are the only cloud where 100% of our energy use is through renewable energy purchases. This is about 8 years ahead of the rest of the industry. So starting in 2017, we've been using 100% of our energy use has been through renewable energy purchases. Why does this matter? This means that now, if you're going to be running Avalanche on Google Cloud, you're using fully renewable energy to do that. And that's an incredible benefit. Of course, also, the fact that you're running it on Google Cloud means that you have expectations in terms of how resilient your Avalanche data warehouse is going to be, and also how scalable that data warehouse is going to be. So when you run Avalanche on Google Cloud, you're essentially leveraging 20 years of Google innovation in computing infrastructure. Avalanche runs on GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine. So really, it's taking advantage of the expertise that Google has in running containerized workloads. And we've been running containerized workloads at Google since 2003, when we basically started using Borg, which does scheduling of all kinds of workflows. And then we open sourced the concepts behind Borg as Kubernetes. And that is basically what GKE does. GKE is a managed Kubernetes offering, and that's what Avalanche runs on. So when you're using Avalanche, you're basically taking advantage of all this experience that we have in running containerized workloads. How does that experience manifest itself? Well, one way that you can think of how it manifests itself is that Avalanche is available not only on Google Cloud, but it's available on other clouds as well. But on Google, it is 20% faster. So that speed is one way in which the advantage of Google manifests itself. The second way that it manifests itself is in terms of cost. The fully managed GKE offering is less expensive than running Avalanche on other clouds. So you get speed and you get cost savings, but you also get, I said again, Avalanche is available on other clouds. It's also available on premises. Why? How is that possible? It's possible because of the Anthos control plane, right? So you're able to basically use the same control plane regardless of where the workload is running physically, which means that you can have a hybrid deployment. You can have an Avalanche data warehouse, some of which is on premises and other workloads running on the cloud, and use the exact same control plane across the two. So that multi-cloud deployment opportunity gives you amazing flexibility. And again, that's all possible because of the innovation that Google has done in terms of running Kubernetes workloads. But once you have your Avalanche system running on Google Cloud, it is not just the advantage that you get on the compute infrastructure. It is faster, it is less expensive, it is more flexible in that you can split your workload between on-premises and cloud. It's multi-cloud. Not only that, not only in terms of where you do the compute, but also that you get to take advantage of what Google is extremely famous for. We are the data cloud. So you get to take advantage of the innovation that the Google Cloud data ecosystem brings about. Why is that? Well, you get to take advantage of the data cloud ecosystem because Avalanche doesn't create a siloed data property. Instead, it's using Google Cloud Storage, it's using the high-speed Google network. You're basically authenticating into Avalanche using cloud identity and access management. So it is very well integrated into the cloud data ecosystem. And because of that, you can prepare your data using data fusion, using data prep. You can ingest your data using PubSub and then get it into Avalanche, right? You can do your data processing with Dataproc. Dataproc is our Hadoop and Spark processing engine. And one of the neat things that Dataproc is known for is that you can do job-specific clusters, right? Where normally when you do Hadoop workloads, you have this massive cluster into which you're submitting jobs, and then you're basically having resource contention between all of the different organizations within your company that need to basically do processing. With Dataproc, you can essentially set it up, if you want, as an ephemeral cluster, a cluster that basically comes up, does the job, and goes away, because all of the persistent data is in Avalanche. And that benefit is incredible because it means that you can now take advantage of cloud economics. Cloud economics is essentially, whether it takes you 10 machines an hour to process the job, or 100 machines take 6 minutes to process a job, it's going to cost you pretty much the same amount of money. So get the thing done faster with more machines. And you can do that because these are ephemeral. These machines come up, they do the job, and they go away. So you basically get a lot of cost benefits in terms of your processing power because of the benefits of the Google Cloud ecosystem. And of course, what's the point of basically bringing data, doing the processing with it, if you're not supporting decision making? So another advantage that you get with the Google Cloud data ecosystem is the ability to activate the data, right? To be able to take the data and display it with Looker dashboards, but not just dashboards, to basically do really modern BI. Modern BI these days is to not basically have your analytics and your users using dashboards, but having the analytics be embedded into your web applications. Think of suppose you have 1,000 customers. You don't want to give you 1,000 customers and their own dashboard, but instead you want to give that each of your customers and each of your users view into their piece of data. You want to embed the analytics of their piece of data into a website, for example. And that's something that you can do again with the Google Cloud ecosystem. So again, one of the big benefits of bringing Avalanche to Google is not just the cost savings, not just the fact that it runs 20% faster, but the fact that you can use the Google Cloud ecosystem. And that, I think, is what really excites me. I'm really happy to invite all of those Avalanche users who are now moving from your on-premises system to cloud to really take advantage of everything that Google Cloud has to offer. And it has a hugely magnifying effect on the capability of your teams to be able to use the data to make decisions much faster. Another thing that I want to point out is that what Actian discovered with Avalanche is a great example of what you can get when you move your applications to Google Cloud. So the way you modernize your application these days is that you containerize it, right? You move it into something that can be orchestrated with Kubernetes. And when you do that, your application that has been modernized by being containerized, you containerize your application, and then when you move it to the cloud, Google Cloud is the best place to move it to because it's going to be faster on GCP. It's going to be less expensive on GCP because of the huge advantages that a fully managed GKE provides you. But not just the fact that it is faster and cheaper, but the stuff in the middle is equally important as well. It's going to take you some time to carry out that migration. You're not going to be 100% on-prem to 100% on cloud. You're going to have this mix. And while you have that mix, it's going to be tremendously advantageous to have a common control plane across all of your software, right? Whether it's running on the cloud or whether it's running on-prem. And to be able to do that with an open source technology like Kubernetes is a big benefit that Google Cloud brings you. So like everything that Actian discovered when they moved Avalanche to Google Cloud is benefits that you will discover when you move your applications from on-premises to cloud. When you containerize them, we strongly recommend and invite you to come and try out GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine. So Google Kubernetes Engine, right? Why is it giving you this cost savings, these kinds of amazing performance advantages? Well, because now Kubernetes was invented at Google. GKE has been in general availability since August 2015. It is a first managed Kubernetes service, and it is still the best managed Kubernetes service. We offer an SLA that is like 99.5 or 99.95% on Kubernetes APIs, extremely low cost, but also extremely scalable. I mean, we hold the world record for the number of worker nodes that we've run, 15,000 worker nodes on Kubernetes. And then also the stuff that I talked about, right? You will be basically highly integrated into the Google Cloud ecosystem, into our hardware support. For example, one common use case is large-scale machine learning, to be able to basically take advantage of GPUs on the cloud and a containerized workload. And then basically take advantage of the Anthos control plane so that you can basically manage your Kubernetes clusters, whether they're running on Google Cloud, whether they're running on Amazon, whether they're running on premises with the exact same security model and the exact same control plane. This is an incredible benefit. And I will basically leave off by painting a vision of the kind of things that you could do when you move your Avalanche workload to Google Cloud. For example, one of the parts of our AI and ML platform is something called Document AI. We have the ability to basically look at documents and extract information from it. So for example, in this case, you're looking at an image of a receipt. And what our Document AI is able to do is to able to look at this receipt and extract out the information in the receipt. The fact that this was a receipt from Angelina, that it is for an amount of about $28 or whatever. But it's not just that it picks out it's not just optical character recognition. It's not just pulling out the data elements. It's actually associating them as key value pairs. And because it's basically saying, here's a key and here's a value, you now have this unstructured receipt data that has now been converted into semi-structured and key value pairs that you can now prepare using Cloud Data Fusion, which is a Google Cloud managed product that is basically is able to prepare the data and load it into Actian Avalanche. And now you can now join it with the rest of your data that sits in Avalanche and is able to basically take advantage of all of your dashboards and ETL pipelines, etc. As I like to say, come to Google Cloud for the cost savings, stay for the innovation. Thank you.